Alright, today we're going to replace this Chinese carburetor, which has quickly failed, with a genuine Yamaha 21W-14101-01. What's happening is it is leaking gas like a sieve, as you can see, so it's a float issue. No matter what you do, it still leaks. Tank's basically dry now, but so we're going to break into the PW80 now. We've got the carb out of the box. We've got our tools. We've got light. We've got the old Chinese carb. And here's the new one here. Looks good. Some fuel line. Extra pieces. Let's make it happen. So the original air box is going to come off first. This particular setup bypassed that. As you can see, that's where it would normally go into, but it has the aftermarket cone filter. So removing that's going to give you a whole lot more space to work with. Once that's gone, you've got a lot of acres to work with. That's just held on by a couple very simple bolts. So now the cone filter's coming off. As you can see, this is the oil injection. The oil injection was missing from this particular carb. Here's the new one. As you can see, the new one actually has a stud for the oil injection. Yeah, that's why you don't buy Chinese carbs. You buy the genuine Yamaha for $100. Now the top's coming off for the choke cable and the throttle cable. Don't let the spring shoot you out, get you in the eyes. And there you have that. Goodbye. This is all going to be replaced with the genuine Yamaha. Put a little bit of pressure on it. Pull it out. Spring comes to. Same thing. Hold the cable, put some pressure on it. So the throttle valve also comes off. We're going to reuse the existing cables that came with the bike. A little finesse goes a long way. There you have it. So here's the new one. Comes with boots. So you can thread the cables through those.
Take a look at this while I'm in here, because I don't know if I can.
There's the oil injector. This particular oil hose is a little bit short, so it may be replaced if possible. So we're going to replace the oil line with new line. This stuff is very rigid. I imagine at one point it was not rigid, but we're going to start the disassembly process now. So take that rubber piece off, just like that. Take the bolt out. The assembly will slide off. And then it'll fall down. And then you're left with the hose on a nipple, which can then easily be replaced. As you can see, that just slides off, and you can see how the pump turns. So we've cut off a length of hose a little longer than this one. This one had previously cracked. So we are sliding the hose with the fitting over top of it, running it back through the rubber gasket, if you will. Align the hole up with the crankcase, and you'll run that bolt back through it. Is that a 10 millimeter?
Yes, sir.
10 millimeter bolt.
There's two of them. One goes on here.
I can go, yep, you're in. One on top and one on the bottom. Do not over tighten. And now we have the additional length that we need. On the new Yamaha Carb, they just put one screw in the top to make it easy for you, and another screw in the bag, so you'll have to take one screw out to assemble it. Obviously, two have to go back in. Slide the boot on first. Give yourself some room. Spring. Definitely a three-handed job. Compress the spring so you can pinch the cable. Get a pair of needle nose pliers behind the head of the cable. Throttle valve is in. Make sure it's properly seated. You're good to go on that one. Now it's time for the choke valve. Same thing, pull the rubber boot off. Slide it over top of the cable and the cable housing. Screw for the cap. Just like the throttle valve, compress the spring. Is the choke on or off right now?
It is off.
So by having
I
the
will
choke
shorten it.
off, it's going to give you a little extra length. By having it on, it'll actually shorten it. So remember, keep it off. So one of the things we learned is when you're trying to put the choke valve on, the choke cable, it naturally wants to go back in and it opens up the choke lever. So by putting a zip tie over the choke lever, it's going to prevent that from going back in, which should make this installation a little easier. So now let's try it again. Didn't even need tools. Excellent. Now we're going to put everything back together into the new carb. Now you can see there's a groove in the one side. Make sure that is oriented properly. As you can see, there's the pin in there. So it'll basically be on your left, your right side. Remember, do not over tighten. So now we've got the cables in. Good idea to keep the intake closed up so nothing falls in it. As you can see, we have the oil injection line now. Screw that down there. trimming off a little excess. And as you can see, the oil cable has been replaced. There are no sharp bends in it. Throttle opens and closes freely. We can now remove our sacrificial zip tie on the choke. Let's see how that works. Perfect. All right. Time to put the fuel line back in. What we're going to do now is kick it a few times with the plug off. Try to get the oil primed in there. Having a clear hose is definitely nice. If we don't get a good prime on it, we're going to put some 50-to-1 in the tank and run it exclusively on that. Alright, so we couldn't get the oil to come through there on just a few kicks, so we put 50-to-1 in it. And until we get the oil to come through, so we couldn't get the oil to come through the line, so we are going to put 50-to-1 in here just until we can get it primed. Once it's primed, we'll go back to the straight gas in the tank, and then of course oil in the oil tank. But here's what it looks like when it's all done. We're thinking that's a vent tube. Just going to leave it off for now. That's your drain tube. Stock settings. Going to leave those for now. Adjust it accordingly. But let's give it a few kicks and get it started. See how it works. All right, let's give it a kick, see how it goes. Got the choke on now. Choke off now. We did make sure that we had gas coming out of the overflow.
Seemed like more gas than usual, huh? What's all that, right?
I hear that. So we have the new carb on, oriented like that. Give it a kick. These are factory settings. Oil has made its way into there.